Welcome back to Romantasy Chaos HQ, the podcast. We are Avery and Xavier Harleston, healthcare professionals by day, romantasy theorists, and aspiring authors by night. Today we have a very special bonus episode for Love is Thou Wilt week. But first, this is your warning. We are not rated E for everyone. We will discuss any and all adult topics using adult language in this episode. Today we are joined by special guest author Eskay Kabba, author of this and many other books, The Beast and Bromance, the Ranger's Magi, book one. But SK, can you go ahead and introduce yourself for us?
Yes, I am Eskay Kabba. I am a queer or LGBTQ romance writer. Um, I mostly write contemporary romance. But yes, I do have a romantasy that everyone just kind of loves. Gosh, what do you want to know about me? I'm originally from New York, still live on the East Coast. I say that I am a full-time social worker and a part-time smutty romance writer. So, yeah.
That sounds
Mm.
very fun.
So fun.
And so that we have a chance to get to know you a little bit better, and in keeping with our time constrained format for our
Yes.
usual episodes, we want to do a really quick 60 seconds on the clock. Would you
Yes.
rather?
I'm
All right.
ready.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Is everybody okay? All right. Tell us when.
And go.
Would you rather write a first time virgin spicy scene or a spicy scene where things go wrong?
Definitely first time.
Fated mates or found family?
Ooh, oh, ooh, fated mates. Yes.
Bert or Ernie?
Bird.
Witches or dragons?
Dragons. Hello.
Gods or gods or monsters?
Monsters.
Cozy or epic?
Oh, ooh, cozy. I'm in my cozy phase right now.
Standalone or series?
Oh, I'm a series girl. You'll see that.
Black black cat or golden retriever?
Oh, I'm also a cat mom, so absolutely the black cat.
Nick, Schmidt, or Winston? I know that it's like a three-way here, but
I was like, "Do you know who you're talking to? Can't have all three?"
not that kind of group.
She's like, all of them? No.
And that I'm going to let you answer that one because that's a very important one.
Nick, right?
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Mm,
Okay. But you'd rather write a first time scene
yeah.
rather
I
than
y
a
yeah, I love, like, that first meet, that first kiss, that first sex scene, like, that's my jam right there.
mm, just the newness of it.
Yeah, yeah, I'm all about
Yeah.
NRE, new relationship energy, like, I love that feeling. It just yeah.
Well, can you tell us a little bit more about your writing journey? How did you get started? What kind of took you down the path of writing
Yeah.
queer romance?
Um, well, wow, what took me down this path? So I've always been a writer ever since I was a kid. Like I was like, I don't know, I was 8-year-old writing like, stories and things like that. And like as I say on my webpage, life just kind of starts lifing, getting away and you get, grow up and you have a career and you get married and have kids and, all these other things. And it was maybe about well, now gosh, it's so crazy that, I was gonna say, like, 10 years ago. Sometimes pandemic years are not real years anymore, so
Correct.
I
Correct.
forget, like, it was a whole, like, time period before that, and we're already 6 years past that time, so I would say probably about 15 years now. Um, I started, writing on, just kind of writing on, like, Literotica and Wattpad, just, just kind of feeling it a little bit, just
Mhm.
putting my free stories out there, um, and having a ball doing it, and, then yeah, the pandemic hit, and I was like, "Can I curse here?" Because I was just like, "Fuck it.
Yeah.
What?
I'm just
100%.
gonna, like."
We love adult language.
Oh, yeah, good. Um Yeah, I was just like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna put myself out there," and I started, like, sending my stuff out there to, like, different, publishers, and, I got some feedback, which had me adjusting the way that I do things. Which now, in hindsight, I realized that a lot of the feedback was based on trends, like what was working at the time and what wasn't working at the time. So, I met a good friend who now is a good friend, but I met a person who introduced me to Four Horsemen publications, and they were like, you should submit to Four Horsemen because your stuff is exactly the things that Four Horsemen wants to hit and wants to have. And so I was like, all right. And so I did submit, and I think they kind of like maybe hinted like, hey, if this person's stuff come through, because they contacted me really quickly and was like, yep, we like it, give us more. And that's how I got started with Four Horsemen. And that was when my have all my books here. That was when my they published my first book in 2021, which is Hidden Love. These are my military boys. And I and then I said to myself, okay, well, I'm going to start putting my own stuff out there. And so I'm a hybrid because I have a lot of indie stuff out there. I publish through Ingham Sparks. I have a bunch of ebook series on Google Play Books, on a new and upcoming I was gonna say smutty because that's just the word that I use, but erotic romance site called Theo Reads. I'm one of the founding authors, and so I have some stories on there. Um, and yeah, so now I still publish for Four Horsemen, and then I have a lot of like my own kind of stuff out there. So yeah, that's kind of just how I got started, I guess, and still
Yeah,
going.
I found it really interesting on the panel on Apolycon. You mentioned that you found uh, Literotica to actually be a very welcoming place for you. That you got a lot of like really good feedback, and like that was a
Yeah,
place that encouraged you to keep going, which is not how I would generally have thought of
thought
that
about
community, I
Literotica.
guess.
Yeah, well, so I'm always open to constructive criticism. If you're just gonna tell me this sucks, that doesn't help me, right? Um, but if you say this is a really good story, you need a good editor, and that's what made me go out and say, okay, let me proofread my stories a little more, let me have other people kind of read through my stories, things like that. Um, and what Literotica really did was give me confidence to know, like, that I am a good writer, that I'm a great writer, that I'm an extraordinary writer, that people wanted to hear my stories. And yes, I'm a smutty writer, but I'm always someone who says that you can take all the sex scenes out of my book and it's still just a rich, beautiful, loving story. I'm a happily ever after girl too. So, you know, and I think people wanted that. You know what I mean? Yes, you want all the juicy, spicy sex scenes because that's just a part of life. But you know, I'm also about like, yeah, I believe in happily ever after, but we got to get them there. It's not all sunshines and roses all the time. These are real world situations that people find themselves in, even in my romantasy. Those are real world
Yeah.
situations that people find themselves in, and have to break through some of these challenges and baggage and trauma in order to find your happily ever after. And it's not perfect,
Yeah.
none of my characters are perfect. People will describe Connor as an asshole because he is. I mean, there's just no way around it. Um, but you end up loving him anyway. And for me, it's important because I'm a queer writer. It's important that people see themselves in the characters, regardless of what the coupling is. It doesn't matter whether it's or MF or FF. For me, if you can relate to the story, if you can see yourself in there, then that's really what matters to me more than anything else.
Mhm.
So,
So with starting in military and contemporary, what took you into kind of this romantasy space?
okay. So here's my secret. I'm gonna get a little closer. I had actually
Okay.
said this at Polycon. I did two panels, and I don't remember which one I said this in. But so Beast and Bromance, the book that you have in your hand. Um,
Uh-huh.
this book I actually wrote like 20 years ago because this was a
Oh,
fanfic.
really?
Yes. So that was a fanfic of it was a Harry Potter fanfic. It was around Charlie Weasley, the brother that no one knew about that worked in the Dragon Reserve.
The
And
hottest brother.
right? That no, that right? That just for me didn't get enough action, right?
All right.
Um, and and so I wrote like this. It was like, I'm not kidding, 8 pages of just like spiral notebooks of just like this whole like world building thing that I did. Um, and after I had like published a couple of books, I said to myself, I think I want to put it out there, but obviously I don't want Warner Brothers coming after me. So I had to change like almost everything about the whole thing, right? Including some of the story itself, and really center it more around Chris, who's the forest ranger that the dragon tamer falls in love with. And it came out to be a really good story. So I say all that to say, maybe that Romantasy may have been my first like venture into like really writing, and then like all the contemporary stuff just kind of fell after that. So yeah, it's super interesting.
So obviously you like many of us read Harry Potter as a kid. What other books were you reading as a kid that inspired you, or that maybe at the time didn't inspire you, although you were writing a lot then, but now you're looking back and say like, oh, actually, yeah, I can see that's
So first of all,
influencing my writing.
thank you so much for saying that I was a kid reading Harry Potter. Because I definitely was not. I was an adult. Um, but maybe I just looked young enough to be, maybe I was 11 when I was reading Harry Potter, right? And it was like 20 years ago.
Isn't everyone 11 when they read Harry? You're 11 in your heart.
Um, No, I am I was born in the 80s and I'm a 90s girl. So my influences were a lot of the 90s authors that were coming up. And I'm African American. So we're talking like Sane and Terry McMillan and Beverly Johnson and Elin Harris and Eric Jerome Dickey. Like those are my inspirations as I was growing up. And most of not all of them knew how to weave a good story, even with some, you know, spicy scenes in it. But of course, growing up, there wasn't a whole lot of queer representation in general. Um,
Mhm.
I think it's so funny because again, we talked about this at a Polycon that it's kind of one of those things that you had to, you know, search around, find on your own, or maybe write your own kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, but definitely like Elin Harris was one of the first um big named, prolific African American and queer writers that was out there that, in a sense, I think influenced a lot of the things that I was writing or the things I wanted to read at the time.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just yeah, I think I just had a lot of different influences in the way of romance writing, and how to
Mhm.
write romance. I mean, I leaned a lot of African American writers, but I was reading Daniel Steele too. I was hungry for a lot of like romance at the time. I'm a
Mhm.
romantic at heart, so yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so what you're a social worker by background.
I am.
We are a doctor and nurse by background. And so people who listen to our podcast know we are writing our first book series,
Yeah.
and often find that we have to go back and I'll be like, okay, I just spent like 3 pages describing how to treat a wound.
Yeah.
Uh,
The most flowery description of a pressure dressing I've ever seen.
I mean,
I love it.
really making sure it was emphasized how frequently she was washing her hands.
Yeah, because it's
Like
important. Because that's
it's all got
important.
to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I edit that. So, and we recently got feedback from our beta readers where they're like, this is a very medical word. So we find ourselves writing a lot and then having to edit it out so it's readable. But with your background in social work, how do you see that impacting your writing?
It does, and it does in a really positive way, I think, because I really do come from I really do look at things from a holistic perspective, and I use some of those same um, ideals about the world. And so social work I don't know if you're familiar, you probably are, with the NASW and our code of ethics and the things that we believe in, which is, dignity and self-worth of a person, advocacy and self-efficacy and justice and, all of those things I bring into my writing. Now, do I get technical sometimes? Probably. I remember on Literotica, it's funny, but it's not funny. This is back when as you were saying about, being working in the medical field. So I used to work for FQHC, a federally qualified health center. And
Mhm.
so I was a medical social worker for about 5 years. And shout out to all nurse practitioners everywhere. I love you guys. Um, I and so when I was writing one of my stories, it was set in like 19 Catch and Don't Release, which is still out there. It's set in like 19 like 81 or whatever. And like at the end, like I was doing like these disclaimers that was like, use condoms, don't smoke, like like all of these things. And someone in the comment section was like, yeah, we know this. Like because one of them was he was a heavy smoker. I mean, it was 1981. I mean, you know, there was a lot of heavy
Yeah,
smokers back then.
In
Um
restaurants,
yeah, I'm
right,
an '80s
in
kid.
cars, like, that's just,
like
like, what
everywhere.
people
Yeah.
did, so,
Yeah, I
you
I
know,
remember collecting the Marlboro points in order to get Marlboro merch
see?
from my father because and don't smoke, it's bad for you. But
Don't
it was
do
the
not
And
'80s.
smoke, it's
also,
bad for
here's
you.
a prize for smoking.
Right. So, and yeah, I remember someone in the comments like, "Yeah, what we didn't need any of that." So, it was just funny. But yeah. I incorporate a lot of I think that's why I incorporate a lot of real world stuff because I know that these things influence and either help or hinder a relationship, family, work, school, kids. I mean, all of these things. My Bittersweet Irish Cream series is spans over maybe like 12 years of their relationship. So when they met, Ethan, who moved to, small town Rockville, Rhode Island, to run it in, yes, I did one of these like Hallmark kind of things. That's how it starts out. Um, he has a 2-year-old son with him, and they're both like in their early 20s. And by the time, you get to episode. One time you get to part 6 or part 7 of the series, they are in their 30s. That 2-year-old is now, a 14-year-old and, just kind of watching like how they went from this like, young couple that was probably having sex all the time and then like later on they're like this married couple with 4 kids and they're talking about like how we don't have sex all the time and how they have to like find ways and things like that. So those are all like real world things. So I bring so much of that into my writing. And I do think that that is what makes people want to read it. It's,
Mhm.
I'm fluffy, but I'm not that fluffy.
Well, and I think we're going to jump a question ahead, but the social work background, I think you know, I guess the question is, you bring a lot of real world circumstances, potentially traumatic circumstances
Yeah.
into your writing, or definitely traumatic circumstances into your writing. How does being a social worker play into being able to put that into a book?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I do bring some traumatic situations into my stories. I mean, if you've read the Hidden Love series, you know that, Connor is closeted, um, but he's closeted for a reason. His father is a freaking psychopath and has been abusing him his entire life. And so his fear of coming out is really about his fear of his father and the abuse that he's experienced. Um, but I also bring in, solutions, found family, therapy. I'm always talking about therapy in my books. I can say like if yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think, is there one
So,
book that someone doesn't have like some kind of like mental health thing going on? And I don't think so. I think they all do because that's real. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Whether it's
yeah, I like
ADHD or complex trauma. I mean, you still deserve
Yeah,
love too. you know?
absolutely. In Beasts and Bromance, I won't give any big spoilers, but one of the characters talks about their experience of being groomed,
Yes.
and sexually abused. They're reflecting on it as an adult, and it happened when they were a teenager by
Yeah.
an adult who was in a position of authority
Mhm.
for this person. And can you talk a little bit about writing that plot line and doing it with such sensitivity and
Yeah.
I think really capturing something that a lot of people talk about, which is at the time I did not realize
Yeah.
what was happening.
And so, not to spoil it also, but he kinda still doesn't realize. He's still like, and but from the person on the outside who's hearing this story, he's like, "What the fuck?" You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
that's not okay.
that's not none of what you told me is okay, like, none of it. Um, but he's thinking, and this is the problem, this is the problem with grooming, right? So he's thinking, well, I made decisions as a 16-year-old, and it's like, did you make those decisions, or were those decisions kind of, you know, um, put on you? The question of grooming, it's going to come up in another story. I'm writing a story now that I have some beta readers that are reading. Um, and it's actually, well, is it MF? Maybe. I mean, all of my books have some kind of, queer influence to it. Um, but the question of grooming is gonna come up again in one of my stories because, you know, the story starts out with her being 16 years old and being kind of like enamored with this doctor, and, you know, the question is, did he encourage it, or did he encourage it? You know what I mean? Because,
Hmm.
he's in his mind, is he thinking to himself, "Oh, I'm just trying to be like a father figure to this girl." And then after she turns 18, we end up in this like dynamic. Um, or maybe someone will read that and say, well, he should have did more to not even have the what's the word, impropriety of it being grooming. So,
Right.
it's gonna come up again. My beta readers are already like discussing as they're reading it, they're discussing it with me. And I'm like, I don't really have an answer to that. I think it's gonna be a question that's gonna come up in stories, but it's a question that, you know, should should be talked about more because we talk about, you know, the direct correlation of, you know, of sexual abuse. Um, but we don't talk about the things that happen before the sexual abuse happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
like you talked about the position of authority, and if
Hmm.
you were in a position of authority, how you use that power either to influence or to harm someone that's under you. So
Yeah.
it's a discussion to have.
Yeah. I think in talking about this, I think one of the things that came up for me at reading the book was, this is a teenage boy who it's natural at 16 that he's interested in sex, wants to have sex, is
Yes.
having sex with his girlfriend, is having
Mhm.
other sexual experiences. And so he's not really like, this is just something where he's like, oh, here's someone who has more experience than me who can, and
Right.
not really registering that there
Yeah.
is a power dynamic, that he is
Mhm.
being abused, that he's being used, that he's being made to feel shame about something that should never be shameful.
Right.
Um, and so it was just like, honestly, we have a teenage son. It made me like think about, is there another conversation we need to have with our son? We talk a lot about consent. I mean,
Yep.
our, our kids are probably tired of talking about sex. Um, if we eat a meal and we don't talk about sex, it'd be a miracle. Um, or possibly their grandparents are around. I don't know.
We
Um,
we have 4 daughters to make sure no one gets pregnant before they want to,
yeah. So
I
there's a
100%, I'm with that.
and a son to make sure he doesn't get anyone pregnant before he wants to.
There you go.
or
There
well,
you go.
and if you're involved in
Yeah.
sex that doesn't lead to pregnancy, you still can get diseases. There's,
That's right.
we're very, very, very open with our kids, and but it made me really question, like as a parent, like, is there another conversation I need to have? Because I don't think we've, maybe talked about that as much as we should. And so it was like,
Mhm.
oh, I've never been a teenage boy who was like, you
Mhm.
know, real excited about sex all the time. Like,
Right. Yeah.
and maybe that's, an experience anyway, I
Well,
haven't even had this conversation with him,
Yeah,
but
that
I think you're doing all
luckily
the right things in having those conversations. I also wanna be the same. I have 2 girls. I wanna be the same with them. My parents are from, Sierra Leone, West Africa, and if you know anything about African or immigrant parents, there's no such thing as sex, right? That's just
immaculate conception.
it's complete, yeah. And so I, as a social worker, I knew I wanted to do things. Oh, what's going on in my hair? I knew I wanted to do things differently with my kids. And so, you know, I had no qualms about having the sex conversation early
Mhm.
with my
Yeah.
daughters. And um my sister was like, why are you talking like this with them?" And I'm like, "Why not?" You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
my social work brain says, "I'm teaching my kids the actual words. Penis,
Mhm.
vagina, not, hoo-ha and wee-wee and no. We're not doing that. Mm-mm." We need to know right
Exactly.
away, like what it is and what we're doing here and how to protect yourself and good touch and bad touch and all of those things. Um,
Mhm.
so you're doing the right thing. You're having those open conversations. Um, and also, here you go. See, now I'm like so far away from being like an author right now. Like now you got me in my thing. And also it's important to create a space of opportunity for them to come to you. That's the other thing that
Mhm.
that so we are, I don't know, you consider us gentle parents, whatever. We don't hit our kids. I will yell at them. I will curse out my 14-year-old if she doesn't do what she needs to do. No question. But, we weren't the parents that are like, grabbing belts and things like that. Now the things that were done to us. So we are parenting differently because I never want my kids to be afraid of me. I want them to know, like, if something happens in the middle of the night, you call me. Don't be afraid to
Mhm.
call me because you think I'm going to start yelling and screaming and do all these things. Call me and let's work it out. Like my whole thing
Yeah.
with my kids even growing up was like, whatever you do, just don't lie to me about it. Like, if
Yeah.
something happened, just tell me the truth. You will I will get more upset if you lie to me about it than just telling me the truth, and then we can work it out. We can figure it out, you know?
Mhm.
And that's just the way I am with my kids in general. I want to create an opportunity and a space for them where they feel comfortable to come to me if something were to happen. And it sounds like you guys are doing the same. So, if they were to even if there was an adult, even if they were excited about having sex, if there's an adult in their lives that's pushing that narrative to them. I feel like you guys are talking about it so much that in the middle of the dining
Yeah.
room, my art teacher keeps saying XYZ to me. I
Exactly.
feel like
Exactly.
they would say that, and then you would know how to handle it as parents. So
yeah, we're definitely trying to normalize the conversation so that
yeah.
things will come up. Also, romantasy is 100% part of my anti-red pill strategy for my
Mhm.
son.
Mhm.
'Cause, like, I
Mhm.
know he's talking to his friends. I was a teenage boy, and I didn't have access to the internet. I can't imagine, like,
Yes. Oh
my
my god.
jubilation if I did. Um, but it's not it's not the representation that we want, so,
Right.
we're like, Here's a romantasy book." Like,
Yes.
read from the female gaze, understand, like, the
Yes.
concept
Read
that,
from the
like,
female
it's
gaze.
supposed to be, pleasurable and fun and,
Right.
you know,
And that there
there
are always feelings.
There are always feelings, and there is always consent. I love that you
Yeah.
guys are talking about, consent. Just bringing it back to like my books. So Ryan D. Ryder in this one, um, he's very much like as he's like having this like very sexual experience with this stranger that he met on a plane. He's very much like, can I do this? Can I touch you? Can I, like that? And
Mhm.
at one point, Nick says to him, like, why do you do that? Like, why are you asking me? Like, you already know that what we're doing here. And Rian is like, because consent is sexy to him, And they
Yeah.
go through like this whole scene where he's like, you know, um, for example, can I, take off your clothes? Can I lick you here? Can I, you know what I mean? And just kind of
Yeah.
making it. And then Nick kind of gets it like, oh yeah, this is kind of sexy. You know what I mean? So like And consent is all through, like, throughout all of my books because it's so
Mhm.
important to me, even within a relationship, that there is consent, you know?
Yes.
And it's enthusiastic and it's needed and it's wanted. Like, I want you to want this as much as I want to do this to you, you know?
Yes.
Like, that's that's what I love. So when you ask
Yes.
about, like, first time things, like, those are kind of things that I love, you know? Those initial, like, "Can I kiss you? Can I touch you?" You know? It's all see, I get all giddy just thinking about it, like, it's exciting.
Well, and, like, one of the we're working on a a Romantasy series, and we have another standalone that we're working on, and there's a first time that I feel is actually very realistic, like, true to life, where this couple doesn't have really great conversation, and it's not great.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, I feel like we need to normalize that there is a range of experiences,
Yes.
and you can learn skills, not just physical skills, but communication skills to improve that
Yes.
experience for both parties. And like, I
Yeah.
think we don't see enough of that, I feel.
Yeah.
Um,
You gotta learn
sometimes
your
so.
partner too. People talk
Yes.
about, like, bad sex. Can you have bad sex? Probably, but I think most 98% of the time is because you haven't learned your partner. You're just trying to get off on your own. If you learned your partner and your partner learned you, then there's a way, then you guys are making sure each other is enjoying the sexual experience. And so
Yeah.
that's what makes it good. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you're just in it just to,
Yes.
get it for
Like
yourself
when
and the other person's not enthusiastic about it, then yeah, it's gonna feel bad.
Yeah, when you develop that shared language, so you're
Mhm.
talking your unique language that exists between you and your partner, like,
Yeah.
or so, but
Well, and then one of the things that so I'm like recently into romance and romancy, like maybe 3 years.
books,
Books in
books,
general.
always been into
Yeah,
romance.
well, romance books. Um, but it's one of the few places where you find this, consent or a
Mhm.
description of, you know, couples really coming together. Everything else, at least like from the male's perspective, male gaze, is kind of one sided. Even if it's like taking the other side, it's still one
Yeah.
sided. Like
Yeah.
the concept of like couple a couple's gaze, and Avery and I talk a lot about, like we're trying to write from this couple's gaze where like
Yeah.
you're coming together and forming a you know kind of new entity of two, right? And
Yeah.
if you figure that out, sex is fantastic, right? I mean, like,
Yes, exactly.
and it's going to look different between every couple,
Mhm.
or every relationship if there's more than a couple. So right, but if the sexual partners are able to communicate and figure out that dynamic, it's gonna be mind blowing regardless of what it is that you like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's exactly it. Like, it has to kinda what you talked about, you have to learn each other's, like, love language, but sex language, you know?
yes, exactly.
What turns me on is not what turns you on, and so let's work on that together, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Um, so one thing we've kind of, I think, heated rivalry has, um, coming to TV as this probably the biggest mainstream media love story
Since Brokeback
that's
Mountain, yes.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, it has
Yeah,
probably, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I
We're
think it's
just
probably
trust
even
me,
bigger than that.
us on
we
this
have
side are talking about it, so we
yeah,
know.
Yeah.
we had a little bit of Brokeback Mountain. There was a little blip with red, white, and royal blue, and then it went away again.
Red, White, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blue. We had, Love, Simon. That was another
Oh,
really, really good
yes.
one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like they're maybe not quite as big as
No, not close.
like
Yeah.
when our 19-year-old daughter came to us and was like, "Hey, there's this new show. I think you
Ooh.
and dad would like it. Have you ever heard of it? It's called Heated Rivalry." I was like, "Girl, I already
That's
binged it."
exactly it, girl. That's exactly it.
But there has been some discourse around um romance,
Mhm.
and I think it's a good place for us to stop and think about whether there's maybe
Oh, yeah.
fetishization
Yeah,
of
that
MM
could work.
romance when they're kind of a book that's written by women for women.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't, I think it's a good thing for us to question, but, and to think about, but what are your thoughts? How do you, I mean, cause you've written a lot of MM romance.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, what
Yeah,
are your thoughts there?
it's so is there you know, are we fetishizing MM romance? Are we fetishizing gay sex? Let me say it like that. Sure. I think that's on Literotica, the gay male section is has the most views. It just
Mhm.
does. Um there is something about the I don't know if dichotomy is the right word. There's something about the idea of men that are supposed to be, you know, strong and, they're not vulnerable. They don't they lock their feelings in, like, those kind of
Mhm.
things. And there's something about seeing two men come together in a loving embrace that I think
Mhm.
that I think draws people in. Um, so I don't know if you want to call it, fetishizing, but I do know that there's that theme that's there. I mean, I'm not saying that people don't. Obviously, I'm sure people do. Um, but I think that's for me, and I'm someone who it doesn't. I promise you, the pairing does not matter. If there is love and there is sensuality in the sex, that's what I want to see. That's what I write, and so
Mhm.
that's what I want to see. So the pairing for me doesn't matter. Um and I'm just talking about me personally. But I do know that, in having these conversations with others, like, that's for some women who don't get to see men in that vulnerable state, and being able to read about it, and then being able to see it on the it's not the big screen, but it might as well be if it's HBO. You know, it does, it makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. But it's interesting that that's the conversation that's happening, because more so the conversation I see is happening is straight men watching heated rivalry with their friends, partners, whatever, blah, 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 and being able to see themselves or being able to relate to the story itself, you know? Because I haven't seen not one video. All the videos that I've seen is about, like, guys sitting with their girlfriends, like, watching this. And when it came to that hockey kiss, like, and how Ilya turned around and said, "I'm coming to the cottage." Like, I mean, that was like, you know, grown straight men were like crying at that scene,
Yes.
because what a moment. What a moment when you realize, like, oh, one, I do love this person, and two, this is where I wanna be. Like, this is where I wanna be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think everyone who's ever been in love had that moment. Like,
Yeah.
"Yep, that's my partner. I need to be with that person?" And that's really what it was about.
You do
So
such a good job of that in this book, by the way.
oh, thank you.
That like in the Beast and Bromance, and I've not read the rest of the series yet. I've just read the first book.
Okay.
But
Oh, you gotta get
the
to it, because
beginning,
you gotta
yeah,
read, sorry, I gotta jump in, but you gotta read the second book to find out why they fell in love so quickly. Like, they were just drawn to each other almost from the beginning, and it just kind of, like, grew.
yes,
Especially for Kyrian, the dragon tamer, because he's lived his whole life, or at least the last 10, 15 years, on this reserve with men. He's never looked at another man, and all of a sudden, like, this one guy he, like, falls in love with. Why? And so you find that
right.
out in book 2. So you gotta read book 2. But go ahead. What were you gonna say?
But I mean, one of the things that I find really compelling about the MM stories, is something that, like, I truly can't relate to, but, like, the thought of it is just, like, so awful. Like, I, like, fell in love with this person, like, the second that, like, we met, like, legitimately, like,
Aw.
was like completely infatuated from like the moment. And to think that like I could have that level of attraction and then like not tell somebody because of my job, to
Yeah.
like have to like pretend like it didn't exist or like that sounds horrific. And
Yeah.
I
It
clearly
does.
have, it's not like a lived experience, but like I can appreciate the the moment where it's like, fuck it, I don't care. Like
Yeah.
you're like, I'm gonna be with you. I don't really care what the obstacles are.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that I can relate to. And I feel like it is like a there is this vulnerability with the men that I've talked to that have, watched it or read the stories where like you're like we don't really have words for like understanding that like, yeah, I'm just allowed to like you and that's fine.
Yeah.
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 And appreciate like that there's these other barriers that are out there. And so yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know anybody that didn't like, fist bump
Yes.
at the ice rink, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you lean in and telling those stories, I do think resonates and matters that
Yeah.
they're out there. And our our one daughter is actually very much a romance fan. It's the only romance that she reads is
Well,
Yeah.
she has started reading sapphic romance now
but
too, but
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
but I think watching the romance and being able to distance herself from it because like she didn't have to have a female piece of the character, a
Mhm.
female character in the relationship, has really helped her, explore, what relationships are like and to see them on the page. And she
Mhm.
definitely gravitates in that direction.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And
um,
for me, it's important that the barriers, even within romance or sapphic or any kind of queer romance, is not always homophobia, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So for the barrier for Chris and Kyrian and Beast and Bromance, it's not actually homophobia. It's the magical
no,
piece. It's, you know what I mean? That's the real barrier. Is he has this whole world that technically he's not supposed to tell Chris about, but he does, and that's really why he's kind of, hasn't been as open with everyone. But as but eventually he gets there. Um and and in a plain and simple connection. So the for hidden love, it absolutely is homophobia as part of it, and you see that's in the trigger warnings and things like that. In a plain and simple connection, their barrier really is this really two different worlds. I mean, we're talking about like at one point, like Nick's friend says to him, like, "You're practically a Kennedy," and he just pulled himself up from like the poverty line. Like, how is this gonna work out? You know what I mean? And so, you know, um, so being able to relate to the fact that you are falling in love with someone that comes from a completely different world than you, you
yeah,
know, um, I think that's how you can see that, and see yourself in these stories. Again, even if it's two men, you know what I mean? I
yeah,
think that makes a world of a difference.
yeah,
Well, and I really like that your romantasy, really focused on using the magic system as a barrier
Mhm.
instead of as a way to fight the bad guys, right? Like
Yeah,
so
yeah,
like it's a very cozy use of magic.
yeah.
Um, I don't know if that changes later in the series, but like you get to see
No,
magic
it's still
being
that.
done. But and you know that there have been conflicts in the past where magic has been used like offensively against humans, but
Yes.
that's not really what this book is focused on. So it's like
No.
allows you to enjoy the magic part without being like, and now we have to fight the bad guys.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and there is prejudice in the magic community, because remember, this is my, like, Harry Potter fanfic. So there's still prejudice in the magic community of people who are, generational, magi, who,
Mhm.
have always had the bloodline, right? And then you have the ones that are kind of like popping up with the bloodline. It's like, "Do you really? Are you really one of us?" And so, you know, that's really you'll see that later on in the series where um um the whole conversation comes up, and I don't want to say who and where, but a whole conversation comes up where, you know, the question is, you know, everyone's trying to figure out like what is it, but what is the barrier? But Kyrian can't say what the barrier is to outsiders. Like Chris knows what the
Yeah.
barrier is, but he can't say it to everyone else, like why, you know, he can't just like bring Chris home and, you know, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so all of that, all and why he hasn't like just kind of like shouted it from the rooftops because, you know, he's supposed to be, you know, hidden. You
Yeah,
know, a
exactly.
part of himself supposed to be hidden. So yeah.
One of the questions I was going to originally ask you was why Albania, but since you told us it was a fanfic, that kind of answered that question because I Charlie's in Albania, I think.
Now
It's
he's
been
in
a while, but
Romania. See, I
oh,
changed
Romania.
almost everything about this thing.
But
I had to choose a totally different country with a totally different like terrain, like all of the things.
so but it's I mean the world it's set in our like real world
Yep.
and there's a lot of different cultural and ethnic influences. We
Mhm.
travel to Chad.
Yep.
Um and so how did you pick kind of those cultural and you know different ethnic groups and bringing
Yeah.
those influences in and writing to that?
Yeah. Well, Chris was always going to be biracial. Chris was or is still a side character, a very, very, very way in the background side character of one of my other stories where so the bittersweet Irish cream that's on Google Play Books. Um Jack, who's the main character there, talks about um his first love when he was 15, who was the neighbor, who was a cousin of the neighbor, their next door neighbor, the next door who had the farm, who came over from Albania and spent like one summer there. And he had fallen in love with, they kind of like fell in love with each other. So Chris's background was always biracial. He was always like half Irish and half African. He's always had that. When I created the story as it is today, that character still remained the same. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So interestingly, you know, Kieran's character has always been, you know, a British, you know, a Englishman, um,
Mhm.
and when I brought the two characters together, um, I also knew like I knew very little about Albania as a country, and I couldn't just have them both be Albanian and then really fuck it up. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't. I would have hate mail from Albanians about like this does not happen here. This is not our way. Um, and so I stayed true to like I know English. I know England. I have two aunts that live there. I've been to London a few times. Um, you know, and through Bittersweet Irish Cream, I learned a lot about like Irish Gaelic and Irish culture and Irish Catholicism and things like that. And obviously, I'm African, so that West African, Senegalese, you know, way I'm familiar with as well. So, um, and shout out to everyone who does like this stuff, like who writes romantasy like regularly, because the world building is crazy. Like you having to remember like all these pieces. I'm telling you all the pieces that I just kind of know culturally because, you
Mhm.
know, because again, it's part of what I do in general, but just having to like and then tackle that and then build a whole different world on top of all of that was just it was just nuts. But anyway, I say all that to say, um, I stuck to what I knew. And plus the way that the Dragon Reserve works anyway, like people come from literally all over the
Yeah.
world to hang out with dragons. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? So,
Right.
um, so it wasn't so far fetched that it was like you know different people, like an Englishman coming all the way to Albania to like work on this dragon reserve. Um, the Chris's background, like I said, I always knew what it was going to be, but I still had to make sure that I did my research and did it well, because I did have to learn a lot about Albanian terrain. Like I had to like pick a terrain that was dense enough where maybe a dragon reserve could have been in this forest. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Things like that.
Exactly.
You know, so there's a real city, the Corsi, like that's a real city. The Malik is a real place. Like those are real cities um in Albania, but the Verdant Forest is not necessarily a real, you know. But Genovia is. Genovia National Park is, but the Verdant Forest is just a piece of what's in there. So, you know, I took a lot of real world and then I just brought my world in that real world, if that makes
You
sense.
did a great job. It felt very real.
Thank you.
I love a 6 degrees of separation connection between series. Like that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I,
Oh,
um,
I
but
love
but
that too. I love the interaction. I love when like my characters accidentally like meet each other, you know?
Yeah. We
uh,
or that,
uh,
like, you wrote that side character and then you're like, "Actually, since I don't know about you, but I need to know the background of every character
Everyone.
that we
Yes.
write. I
Yes.
need to know,
Yes.
like, how much they weighed when they were born."
Yes. That's
Like,
the educator. That's the
yeah,
educator in us. I know the backgrounds of all of my side characters. It's
and
insane.
and then I'm like, "Oh, they would be really fun to write about this person," and our beta readers are like, "Who?" And I'm
I'm like,
like,
BJ's the real hero of this story. And they're like, who's BJ? The guy who runs the Red Rock Bar and Grill. Don't you know? like, like
"You know what
really.
he's been through in his life? He's such a
You
survivor."
know what he's been through? It's so funny. I am
Oh,
that person.
yeah. And we have very different approaches. So like I was like, we need a ballad. So like I wrote like a third grader poem, and then
Yeah.
Avery is like, well, based upon how the world is set, like what would the like meter be of a ballad in that world? I'm like, what's a meter?
Awesome. Oh, that's great.
um, well, can you you've held up your various books, but can
I
you give us
did.
a quick run through of your different series?
Oh gosh.
Um, you can hold them up and be like, this is
Okay.
your my I'm going to ask you to do the hardest thing an author has to do and provide a short summary
I am gonna pray.
from your
Oh, this
series.
is what I do. Okay, so I trust me. I go to you see how I am at book events, right? I have to do it short and sweet and let you know. Okay, so this is how I say. These are my military boys. This is a
This
5 book
is
series, the Hidden Love
Wilder Love,
series. Hidden
Hidden Love.
Love.
Sorry.
Mhm.
I'm like trying to read it
Um,
on the screen.
Oh
I
yeah, you were
call
reading
this
Morse.
series. I call
That's
this
why you leaned
series
in.
turning a hoe into a housewife because Connor, my military boy, is absolutely a whore, but and Jamel is not. The complete opposite. And he's so loving and he just changes Connor's entire world. So this is a 5 book series. Um this is my Ryan D. Writer series. Starts with a plain and simple connection. It's a 3 book series. And I called this series Sex First, Ask Questions Later. And it centers around 2 men who meet on a plane, a 7-hour flight to London. And they get to know each other, and then they
Biblically.
get to know each other even more for a month in June of the month of June in London, and then they have to go. Then they go back to the United States and have to decide if their love is worth fighting for.
I'm gonna
Uh,
call that one the consent is hot series.
yeah,
Consent.
because yes, consent is sexy. Yes, and then of course, Beast and Bromance, as we've been talking about. This is another 3 book series. This is my Romantasy. I like to tell people how it starts, where, you know, a little baby dragon, and when I say little, he's like 10 feet tall, escapes a dragon reserve and almost kills the forest ranger. But he is saved by by the dragon tamer. And then they become friends. And then they become more than friends. And it's really a bi awakening for Kyrian because he's falling in love with this man and he has no idea why. And it's a magical awakening for Chris because what do you mean? I've lived in this place my whole life. You're trying to tell me there's dragons and there's, magical creatures and magical plants and like all these things around me. And so that's what makes it so special because yeah, and there are dragons, like dragons everywhere, so that's the fun part.
I really, really, I love dragons and I love what you did with the Dragon Reserve. And I'm like, I wish I could assign my kids dung duty. Like when they,
Dog duty,
when
don't
they're
you love it?
like, that's like such a fitting, like such a
Yeah, it's a
You're
thing.
cursed at the dragon table. 2 weeks
Yeah,
of dung duty.
you're
You're
on dog
cleaning up
duty.
all of the dragon poop for two
Yep,
weeks.
yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, because that's what he did to what's the name at the end of it? He's like, "Yeah, you were
Glad. Yeah.
insubordinate. Go clean up this
Yes.
go
60 days
clean
of
up this
dung duty.
dragon's dung." And he's like, he's like, "Kyrian, you can't do like they will not respect me if if you make me do this." And he's like, "Yeah, that sounds like a you problem."
And then he's at the end, he's like, my shoes.
I know that was awesome.
I like literally laughed out loud. I'm like, that tracks. I also would be mad about my shoes. um, so
Yeah.
what's next for you? What are you working on right now? What can you tell us? What's
Yes.
with your beta readers?
Oh gosh. So this is the next story that's going to drop. It's gonna drive people crazy. So yes, I write romance. Most of my stuff out there is romance because that's the stuff that's kind of like taken off. People like my romance stuff, but I do write other stuff.
Well, tell us about your other stuff.
So this book that I'm writing now, I've been writing for a couple of years now. It is and it's ready. I think it's ready. And my beta readers are telling me it's ready, so I think it's ready. It's it's about a woman's journey to becoming a slutty masochist. So, um, that's gonna be interesting. Um, I also have a series on that I'm still the series is ongoing. It's called The Throat. Those are my college boys. It is a sex worker. He is a sex worker. He gives blowjobs for money, and he meets a frat boy who doesn't care that he gives blowjobs for money and wants him anyway. And so the chase begins. So that's a fun series that I'm still writing. And then gosh, what else am I doing? Okay, so listen, my beast and bromance people. Okay, so I say at the end of the 3 series that there is going to be another book called The Rangers Mages. So it's some of you have caught on to that.
Mhm.
And there is, I promise. But when I started reading it, I started writing it. I realized this is going to be a whole different series. This is going to be like the next generation.
Oh,
So be patient with me, my little ones. I am putting together another 3 books of Chris and Kyrian, but also, like I said, I'm just going to say the next generation of Magi, and it's really fun.
that's very exciting.
Yes, and all the listeners, please be patient with your authors.
Yes,
Please.
guys,
We got a lot of
be
things
patient with
going
your
on.
authors.
We got a lot of
We're
things
gonna
going on.
appreciate what's available to us and
And then I
allow a
got a
lot of
bunch of short
grace.
stories I'm throwing out. Like I'm in anthologies here and there. I'm still throwing out short stories on Theo Reads. So yeah, so it's theoreads.com. I realize I keep saying it super fast because I'm from New York and I talk fast. But it's
That's right.
theoreads.com.
And we'll link it in show notes for
Okay,
sure. So
great.
anyone who wants to find you, but
Amazing
where
authors that are there. Amazing stories, really vetted, really amazing stories. Yes, come for me, but also come for all the stories. I mean, it's kink central over there. Anything you think of, it's a story about it.
I mean, I never thought licking an armpit was gonna be sexy. You made licking an armpit sexy.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
Yeah.
there you go.
Mhm. Yeah. He's like,
I'm
It's so red.
trying so hard not to say things right now.
"This is something don't try this at home." Yeah.
I mean, there was magic at play,
There
but
is.
I mean, I'm not generally a shower first person, but
well, they
Yeah.
showered first for sure.
yeah,
They
for
did
that
they
one.
Yeah,
did
that
they
was
did
that's
shower.
important.
They did shower first. Yeah.
Um, so we will put your website in show notes, but where can we I think you have a pretty busy rest of the year doing a lot of or some events
I
still.
am. So right now I'm promoting Indies and Bookworms. That's going to be in Maryland. I'm so excited about that. The tickets, the general admission tickets are sold out, but VIP tickets and swag, the people who want the actual swag and stuff, those tickets are still available. So that's gonna be in August. And then right after that, I'm doing Books and Brews, which is gonna be in Hamilton, New Jersey. That's gonna be fun. I'll add that. I'll have to add that to my website. I don't think that's there yet. And then I am doing Hershey and Books and Chocolate in
Books
Hershey,
and chocolate,
PA.
yes.
Yes, I'm doing that in November. So that's gonna be super fun. Oh no, I forgot something else. I am doing Brooklyn booze.
That's it. I
Bro-
knew there was something in Brooklyn.
yes, yes. So we did it in the beginning of the year, and it was one of the days where I don't know if you guys remember, it was like this, like the whole East Coast was in this like wind tunnel where it was like 80 miles an hour and it was nothing but like wind. Yeah, so that's the
Had
day
such
that
a weird
it was
weather this year.
it's so been so weird. So that's the
I
day we
was
decided
tracking
to
us.
do it out in Brooklyn, and people still came out, but we're doing it again, and so we're hoping to like really promote and get people to really come out. It's going to be in the Alphabet City or industry. I forgot what you call that section. I'm from the Bronx. I don't know what they call that section of Brooklyn, um, but yeah, that's gonna be super dope too. That's in September. So yeah, so two events in August, one in September. Um, I don't know if I'm doing Collingswood Book Fair this year. I usually do that every year, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do it this year. But definitely Books and Chocolate in Hershey, PA. So yeah, there's my world tour: New York, New Jersey, and then back to Pennsylvania.
And you can't go wrong in Hershey. I'll just say that.
I
We
know.
And there's a really good chance it'll smell like chocolate in November.
Oh,
mm,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I believe that. I'm actually bringing the family, and so they're getting tickets to actually go to Hershey's Park while
Hershey Park.
while I'm doing my own thing. So, yeah.
It'll be a good time to go. They might even yeah. We lived
Yeah.
in Hershey for a while, so
Oh, then
um
you guys are definitely have to come up then. Absolutely.
um all right. I guess the last thing, if there was one question that you wish we asked you and we haven't, what would it be?
Oh, I don't know. You guys are good. You
Nice.
asked me questions
Mm,
I didn't think to, didn't think about. Um, but yeah, we talked a lot of social worky stuff. That's
yeah,
yeah.
we love that.
I know.
I mean,
Well, no, I mean, we really believe that they're every author we've talked to. There's like so much passion behind like why they're choosing what they're choosing, and you know, I I talk about like it bleeds through to the page, right? Like so, like whatever your driving, you know, raison d'être is gonna show up in your work. So we want to help readers connect with authors at that level,
Yeah,
and so your social work background and way that brings into the real world circumstances that I think in some ways are brave enough to put on the page
yeah,
is awesome, and it's an area we definitely wanted to dig into.
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and for being part of Love Is That Wilt Week. We are going to, like I said, we'll put links in the show notes to all of the places people can go to find your writing, your website, your events.
Awesome.
Um, and this book, which you were able to sign for us at a Polycon is going to be part of our summer of book mail chaos.
Yay.
So someone is going to get to have this show up as a surprise in their mailbox. If you have not signed up for book mail chaos, why not?
Yes.
um,
Awesome.
so thank you again. And that's going to be it from us. And let us know in the comments what book you're going to start with, what you're going to read. I definitely think if you love dragons, the Beasts and Bromance is a really fun read. If you don't read a lot of queer romance, I think it's a great way to get started.
Yeah.
But remember, everyone, we love you. Stay out of the clouds, off the ice, and come back to us. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.